Good morning, everybody, and welcome to another video and podcast from FFScout.co.uk. My name is David, and today is, of course, the Gameweek 13 deadline. And wow, what a week it has been trying to get ready for this Gameweek deadline. In fact, so much stress that I've noticed I haven't even sorted my hair. There we go. Just tuck that back in. A little bit of a Saturday morning stress hair there for you, because I have been spending all morning trying to work out what to do with my FPL team. And I've got to be honest, I am no closer to working out what I am going to do with my own team. What I'm going to try and do for the next hour is help you guys what to do with your team. It has been just an absolute carnage of a week. Injuries left, right and centre. If anybody can beat 6 flags in their team going into Game Week 13, because that's how many I've got, let me know in the comments, whether you're watching us on YouTube or on Twitter. So it's exciting news. Obviously, you're probably watching this on Twitter thinking, hey, what's going on here? If you're watching on YouTube, you'll be absolutely none the wiser. But we're trying something a little bit different this week. We are simultaneously streaming this from our Twitter account and from our YouTube as well. So if there are any issues that pop up, do let me know. It's the first time we've done this, so that's entirely possible that might happen. I've got a couple of people on standby in the Fantasy Football Scout, behind the curtain if anything goes wrong. So do let me know. Hello to everyone in the chat on YouTube so far. So Liam's already asking about whether or not Watkins is a good shout for the captaincy. Yeah, potentially. We will talk about captaincy in a little bit. Of course, it's going to be a tricky one this week because even Haaland's got a flag. We've got FPL Rank Chaser in the chat, Uproar, one of our regulars. Nice to see you there as well. Alpine021 has 3 flags. Wow, if I only had 3 flags in my team, I'd be feeling pretty good this morning, to be honest. But no, I can understand it's going to be a bit of a tricky one. So yeah, as ever, get your questions in the chat and I'll do my best to answer them. If you're watching on YouTube and you use a super chat, then of course you'll get a guaranteed answer, but I will do my best to answer as many of the other questions as possible as well. Now, before we go much further, as ever, there's always a little bit of housekeeping for us to do, but of course the time of year being that it is the time of year when, hey, this is when it's time to, get ready for Christmas and things like that. We've got some cool deals that I just want to talk you guys through before we get into the real juicy stuff of sorting out this game week. So we've got a Black Friday deal on at the moment. If you haven't already signed up for Fantasy Football Scout membership, then now is a great time to do it. We've got a Black Friday deal on which runs sometime into next week, where if you sign up as a member, you can get a 7-day free trial and you get a free gift worth £12 from Good Team on Paper. They make really cool prints and posters and designs and things like that. So a bit of a double whammy of possibilities there, because not only can you get a free trial for Fantasy Football Scout for 7 days, you can obviously get that gift from Good Team on Paper, which could be really helpful for the football fan in your life if you're not sure what to get them yet. And you know what? Even if you just spend 7 days not liking Fantasy Football Scout membership, hey, at least it was free, right? So might as well give it a go. It's absolutely nothing to lose with that particular deal. Really cool offer there, so check that out. We've also got some exciting news. We also have a new website of Fantasy Football Scout, www.fantasyfootballmerch.co.uk. So as I said, if you are looking for a gift perhaps for the loved one in your life who likes a bit of fantasy football, then you can also get a Black Friday discount on that as well. If you use the code BlackFriday25 when you check out, you get 25% off. There's free shipping as well. There's going to be mugs, shirts, jumpers, caps, beanie hats, all that sort of stuff. So yes, loads of really cool stuff, and appreciate you guys being patient enough to let me talk through that when you probably all come here after some more dare we say injury related news. So yeah, let's jump right into the latest team news as we know it. And while we do that, I might just adjust my camera, which appears to have slipped, and there's a lot of stuff behind me. Apologies for anyone who enjoys looking at my football shirt lineup. I was actually doing some videos last night that have nothing to do with football, so I had to sort of remove those so that it didn't sort of clash. And I forgot to put them back up. So what a mug. It is just one of those weeks where it's just... it's all about the injuries. So let's talk about the injuries then. So I've done this in alphabetical order. Those of you who don't have time to watch the team news on a Friday, hopefully this is going to be helpful for you guys. There's lots of people in the chat asking about who's fit, who's not, who's going to start, who isn't. And we quite often go through that on this deadline stream, because it really wouldn't be a Saturday morning with a deadline without a little bit of team news and a bit of injury news as well. And before I go through yesterday's quotes, appreciate that all of this stuff is from yesterday, right? And on a Saturday morning, sometimes we get new information. Now, I'm sat here not only administering a YouTube stream, I'm also now administering a Twitter one at the same time. So my hands are very full. I will do my best to try and track as much of this information that comes out on social media on Saturday morning as I can. However, I can't do that without your help. So if you spot something that you think is going to be relevant to this, then just let me know, and we'll see what we can do with it. We'll check if it's something we can talk about, because if it's a bit sketchy, then we might have to sort of leave it. But yeah, if we see pictures of players, getting off the bus, videos, all that kind of stuff, people at the ground, spotting players coming off the bus, or perhaps in the changing rooms or whatever, do let me know. But for now, what we can talk you through is, of course, the team news as we know it from yesterday. And I've cherry-picked the best ones here. I'm going to dilute this into as bite-size a team news chunk as I can, right? So we'll start off with Aston Villa, as promised, because alphabetically they come first from the cherry-picked sides. And the reason why, of course, is Matty Cash. We found out this week that he, withdrew from the Poland squad and, has now got a flag on him. We didn't get, as far as I'm aware, any updates on Cash on Friday. So if you're scrabbling around for some Cash news this morning, the news is there is no news, which is kind of annoying, but we kind of are hoping that probably is a good thing, right? Because Emery talked about John McGinn. He said yesterday John McGinn came back and he rested, but today he was training. Hopefully tomorrow there will be no change and he'll be okay for Sunday. And then he also talked about Martinez as well, because he's obviously come back with injury too. So the quote on him was he's coming back from international duty with a little bit of pain, but I think tomorrow he'll be okay. I think he's going to be ready for Sunday. Now, bearing in mind that he was of a mind to talk about those individuals in a world where we know that Cash has withdrawn from his squad and he didn't talk about him at all, we're kind of hoping that no news is good news on Cash. And so if you've got Cash, I wouldn't be too worried about him, if I'm honest. When you consider the match that they've got is away at Spurs, and Spurs, of course, have been, a bit not at their best without some of their best players, I think there's every good reason to start Cash in this one. And before we move on to any other team, I will just show you the predicted lineup for Aston Villa as well. Now, not only does Fantasy Football Scout do team news, we also do predicted lineups as well. They are actually officially the best in the business, and I can say that because I have nothing to do with the team predicting. That's all down to Neil, Tom, and Mark. But we are currently leading the team news predictor aggregators. Someone's aggregated all of the team news predictions and ranked us all, and we have the highest success rate so far this season. So fingers crossed that stays true for yet another game week. And yes, on the Fantasy Football Scout predicted lineup, we do have Matty Cash to start this game. Now, it always does come with the caveat of this is a prediction. This doesn't come from us necessarily having Unai Emery's phone number. But yeah, we're fairly confident based on what we've been told about Cash, and more importantly, what we've not been told about Cash, that we think is probably going to start. And of course, that extra bit of day of recovery as well, going into Sunday's match. So that's what we think. And yeah, fingers crossed that is what happens. So hopefully that helps any of you guys out there with Cash. Now, I've just noticed that we have had our first super chat of the stream. So thank you very much to Dimitri K for your €5 super chat. Really appreciate the support. That's fantastic. Really appreciate it. Before I answer your question, if you're looking for a way to support the channel but you don't want to do a super chat, then liking this stream, whether or not you do that on Twitter or you do it on YouTube, is a huge way to help the channel. Absolutely free, of course. And also, don't forget to subscribe to the YouTube channel and hit that bell notification so that you always know when you've got new content coming out. International breaks, as we've just finished one, are a great time to have those bell notifications on, because the videos aren't built around when the matches are, and so it's useful to have it then. But of course, we've got all sorts of amazing shows in the build up to a game week. Burning Questions with FPL Harry and FPL Sonaldo on Mondays, and we've got the Scoutcast on Mondays also as well, with usually Andy, Seb and Rich, as long as one of them's not ill. They've been really unfortunate, those guys. It's almost like they've been sort of going along with the spirit of FPL, and there's one of them always flagged, but I think they're back stronger now. But yeah, Monday nights, that's going to be on as well. So yeah, and we've got all sorts of great shows throughout the week. So if you are watching this for the first time because you're seeing us on Twitter today, head over to the YouTube app, like the video, and hit the subscribe button and hit the bell notification as well. But yes, I digress. Dimitri K has submitted a super chat, and clearly this is someone who knows what they're doing. This is someone who has been around a long time on these deadline streams, because very helpfully, thank you very much, Dimitri K, you have sent me your whole team, as well as your possible ideas. If you've got questions or super chats, and you've got sort of specific issues, sometimes it's helpful just to know what the rest of your team looks like, so I can be as helpful as possible for your team, because sometimes my answers might be dependent on what you do have in your team and what you don't have in your team. So, Dimitri's question: Areola, Gay, Gabriel, Cash as the four defensive players, Saka, Bowen, Son, Salah, Adingra, Watkins, Haaland as the attacking ones, with Lascelles, Archer, Simicas on the bench. I don't spot a substitute goalie there, but I'm just gonna assume it's probably Turner or something like that if Areola's starting. 2 free transfers. Well, lovely place to be. Well, let's count your flags first, Dimitri. You've got one on cash, but as we've already discussed, that's probably not that much of an issue. And you've got Haaland, and we'll talk about him in a second, but I'm not too worried about him either. So 2 free transfers. Well, you've got a Dingra, so you don't have to specifically worry about not having Matoma this week. I really like your team. You've got Bowen. How did I miss Bowen? Well, the thing about Bowen is we're not really... Bowen could play. I mean, if I was you, I would actually probably only use one of these transfers and bank the next one for next week, because you've got Archer on the bench. So if Bowen doesn't play, I think Archer coming in for this game week is a really solid option, to be honest. I mean, I think a lot of people kind of moved away from him when they wildcarded, so he's probably a bit of a differential now. I may have to start Archer this week, as mentioned in my team reveal video. I think it was on Thursday that I did that. So yeah, I would put Archie as your first sub, then Lascelles, then Tsimikas. Do it in that order. Start Bowen in the hope that he, because I think Bowen's either going to start or just not be involved. That's what I reckon, to be honest. Watkins is an easy hold. Haaland again, Son, Salah, Adingra, and Saka, all easy holds. Cash, I mean... For people with lots of flags, Cash is a hold, but you could maybe move him around. But yeah, I would basically use... Your team doesn't need you to use 2 free transfers, and it might need that in a couple of weeks' time. I don't know what your situation is with your wildcard, but we've got blank game week 18 coming up, so plan for that's really important. So I would use one of your transfers on... Maybe a substitute goalkeeper. I mean, if you can get your substitute goalkeeper to Sanchez ready for Chelsea's fixture swing, then you've got the Areola-Sanchez goalkeeper rotation already set. Yeah, that sounds super boring, but yeah, that's what I'd do. But yeah, thank you very much for your super chat. Hopefully that's instilled a bit of confidence in you that your team is in a good place for game week 13. Let's head back to the team news, because as I said, it's all about the team news this week. We've talked about Aston Villa. Let us now talk about Brighton. Hey, wow, what a week it has been for anyone who owned Matoma. Just absolute... chaos with this one. I can't really remember an injury saga quite like this one, to be honest. We heard earlier in the week from Andy Naylor, who is a well-renowned source for Brighton news, because I think he's covered Brighton for something like 20 years, used to work for the Argus, now works for the Athletic, and his understanding was that Matoma was or likely to be out of this game week with the injury that he had picked up. And then what happened on Thursday? Well, Brighton, of course, posted a tweet from the official club account showing him arriving at training, had the whole squad all jogging out, ready to go and do some work, and the first one out, jogging along like he'd never had an injury in his life, was Matoma. And so then we're all thinking, right, well, he's back in training, surely he's going to play. And then the flip-flopping continued, because then on Friday, De Zerbi did, of course, confirm that he is out of Game Week 13, as is James Milner. Now, in terms of the reason why, bearing in mind he's training, you've got to assume that his injury is fine now. So what we kind of suspect is that it's probably just a case of kind of load management. You know, he has started a lot of games. That's perhaps what triggered him to have this knock that he's had. And then... yeah, it's probably just a case of making sure that he's definitely fit to come back before, well, rather match fit, I should say, before he plays. So it does mean that your Matoma, if you're sat there with Matoma and you got the red flag on him, yes, he's definitely out of this one. Don't let any of the confusion from him turning up to training sort of dissuade you from thinking he's out. And so what you do with him is another tricky one, right? Because as I've mentioned with Cash, you don't necessarily have to sell him. Now, there's going to be a lot of you out there who probably don't have Mbermo. I don't have Mbermo. He's someone that I really like the look of. I might sign him at some point in the next 44 minutes, but we will find out, because there's a couple of options for my team. And it does look like a good switch, to be honest. Let's have a look at some fixtures just to talk that one through, because with Brighton, their usefulness is probably coming to an end, because, yes, they've got Forest away this week, which is not a bad fixture, but, of course, Matoma isn't going to have that one. Then it's away at Chelsea, which is increasingly becoming a difficult game, because they are getting much better as time progresses and as Pochettino starts to bed in. Then Brentford at home, again, quite a difficult one. Burnley at home in 16 for Brighton is not bad, but then it's away to Arsenal in 17, so they're not great fixtures. However, Brentford, whilst they do have Arsenal this week, I mean, it's at home, and so I'd back Brentford to do quite well there. Then they've got Luton and Sheffield United as 2 of the 3 games they've got after that one. So that could be a relatively easy switch if you've got Matoma this morning, because, yeah, he's going to miss this one. Could be back for Chelsea, but it is Chelsea away. So you're probably going to get a lot more joy out of Mbeumo. You could also look to Eze as well, whose fixtures in the short run are actually better than Mbeumo's, because he's away to Luton today. So you could probably get some instant impact from him on penalties as well. We've got West Ham away in 14. And to be honest, West Ham's defence hasn't been amazing this year, and I do think away teams do quite enjoy going to the London Stadium, because it's not always a place of much joy for the Hammers. They seem to be a little bit more comfortable playing on the road. And then Bournemouth at home in game week 15. So 3 really nice fixtures for Eze. So Eze and Mbeumo, probably good replacements for Matoma if you're sat there and you feel like you need to sell him specifically based on the information that we've been given. Let's keep on going through this team news, because as I said, there's a lot of it and it pertains to a lot of our teams. Right, as I said, these are in alphabetical order. So next it is Manchester City. So appreciate they're playing in the lunchtime game. So if you have spotted any footage or any pictures of Erling Haaland stepping off the bus, or perhaps maybe involved in some training or some pre-match event that implies he's going to play, if you've spotted something like that, do let us know. Because it's quite useful to draw on people who are at the stadium right now, perhaps maybe have seen him walking about and ready to play. But yes, we're not too worried generally anyway, because we have got this quote from Pep, which is not an ideal one, but it's certainly, compared to some of the other players that we've got updates on, it's a little bit better. So the view from Pep is that Haaland trained yesterday with some niggles. So this was on Thursday that he trained, because his quote's from Friday. But today we have the last training, so that would have happened on Friday, and hopefully he can be part of it. So as I said, I actually I haven't seen pictures of Man City in training from yesterday yet. Although if you've seen some pictures of Haaland in training, stick the link in the chat and we'll have a look at it just to double check, because that would be super useful. But yeah, as I said, I'm not too worried, because he's a bit of a machine. Is Haaland. And tell what we'll do. Let's head back to the Fantasy Football Scout website and have a look at the predicted lineups. If you've not used this before, when you're on the Fantasy Football Scout website, you have a look at the top. There's a team news section here. Click on predicted lineups, and you've got one for every team with a bit of information explaining the reasons behind that selection. And, well, as I said, we are once again apparently the best at predicting them in the whole business. And I can say that because I'm not Neil, I'm not Tom, I'm not Mark. They are, all 3 of them, much too humble to make that brag themselves, so it's my job to do it for them. And, of course, here we go. This is the predicted lineup for Man City for today's game against Liverpool. Ederson in goal, Gvardiol, Akanji, Diaz and Walker as the back 4, with Rodri and Bernardo Silva as the 2 deeper midfielders, Grealish, Alvarez and Foden as the attacking trio in support of, yes, Erling Haaland. We've got him to start up front in this particular game. So we're not too worried about him, and I may end up captaining him as we head towards the deadline. He was the person I switched to when we heard the news about Jarrod Bowen. Let's head back to the team news tab for one final update on Jarrod Bowen then. And, well, if you thought the Brighton one was a bit of a saga, so was this one. I mean, wow. To have so many different sagas in the same week, I mean, yeah. Editorially, we're blessed. When we make content, we love stuff like this, because there's just always so much stuff to talk about. So, with this one, we knew that he'd left the England squad with an injury. It's a big shame. I think he, was looking forward to him playing for England, to be honest. He's definitely deserved to be involved and start matches and have a shot at maybe making the Euro squad as well. But came out of the squad. We then heard some news from a number of sources within the media that he had some fluid on the knee, which of course doesn't sound great. And we also understood from those same sources that he hadn't trained in the earlier part of this week when he was back with the West Ham squad. So, with those things all put together, we kind of all assumed he probably wasn't going to play the Burnley game. Now, when David Moyes came out on Friday, his view was that he hopes Jarrod Bowen will be available to face Burnley, and a final decision will be made tomorrow. So, by that he obviously means today, that is Saturday. So that's why it's only a yellow flag for him now, because there's a possibility he's going to play. And on this one, I really can't call this one. With the Haaland one and the Cash one, from what we've seen from managers in the past, we can be fairly confident they're probably going to play. But with this one, it's a real tricky one. Now, I'll give my personal view, and then we'll go and have a look at the Fantasy Football Scout predicted lineups and see what they think. Based on the fact that he hopes that he's going to play, that to me suggests that, well, that there's some chance he could be involved. I mean, I don't really think it really serves David Moyes all that well to kind of, play smoke and mirrors with this one. If there's a chance he could play, then there's a chance he could play. And bearing in mind that he hasn't actually missed any games for West Ham yet, he's just missed some England training, I kind of feel like he'd probably start as well. This kind of feels like he's either going to start and maybe get 60 minutes or 70 minutes or something like that, or he's just not involved at all, because I don't really see... I can't really see him being sort of used from the bench. If he's not considered fit enough to start, then I don't think he's considered fit enough to be used as a sub either. That's just kind of my sort of gut feeling, which could be wrong. So do caveat that with the fact that it is just me saying that. Let's have a look at what the guys on the editorial team who do those team predictions say. So we'll just scroll down to West Ham. What is their view? Do they have him to play? They do. They do have him to play. They've got him in the starting lineup, or the predicted starting lineup. So Areola in goal, Emerson, Aguerd, Zuma and Sofal as the back four, Ward-Prowse and Edson Alvarez as the midfield, the deeper midfield two, with Kudus and Paqueta either side of Soucek, in the three behind the centre forward being Bowen. And probably the reason why there is this view that they want to use him is they are actually quite short of options up front. I think Danny Ings is still there, but hasn't really been involved very much. Antonio is out for several weeks, and I'll just go back to that quote because it's interesting. Just the comparison with Mikel Antonio. Whatever's wrong with Antonio is serious enough for him to be out for a couple of weeks, whereas Bowen has a chance to play. If Bowen doesn't start this, then we think possibly, I guess, Kudus maybe could play up front, for example. Ward-Prowse is also an option if people have a spare transfer to make and they don't have Bowen. I think you go Kudus and Ward-Prowse and you can do that fairly confidently. This kind of trickier decision is more for the people that do have Bowen. It's not enough for me to captain him, but they do really need him. They do really need someone to play up front, and him playing out of position has been super successful for him up until now. Adam Holmes in the chat has just said it absolutely best. Hold Bowen, but I wouldn't buy him. So it's a very sort of team-specific thing, the Bowen thing. If you got him, I'd hold him. I'd start him as well. Wouldn't put him on your bench because there's a chance he can be involved. And this is a big opportunity, this game, for him to go crazy, because Burnley at home, they are a lot more open than they are away from home. But if you don't have him, yeah, it's hard to buy him because of that doubt. So Peshang in the chat says, should we buy Kudus or Bowen to cover the West Ham attack? Well, based on all of the stuff we've just talked through there, what I would do is buy Kudus if you want some cover for the West Ham attack. I wouldn't buy Bowen. So it's tricky. Appreciate that's like a bit of a weird thing to go with, because I've got him, I'm going to hold him, but I'm telling you not to buy him. Well, it's just about, I don't have to spend a transfer to get him. If you don't have him, you'd have to, and it's sort of like a bit of a trade-off there. And actually, Spanner makes a good point in the chat as well. He's but why keep Bowen? Solid Palace defence, then Spurs to come up afterwards. Yeah, completely agree. Bowen may end up being how I get to Mbermo, for example, but it's just this week. It's just this specific week when he's facing Burnley. The opportunity is, in my opinion, too good to not have some involvement in if you have Bowen. If you don't, and you want to buy a West Ham person, I'd go Kudus or Ward-Prowse. We've got ourselves another super chat. Thank you very much to Gareth Parker for a £5 super chat. We really appreciate the support. And actually, it's your first ever super chat. So, yeah, very exciting to have you join the super chat crew. Get through that tongue twister. Right, so, and as ever, the full team. So thank you very much. You've been paying attention. I like it. So, Areola, Cash, Trippier, and Anderson. And Udogie. All right, so back four for you today. Son, Hwang, Diaby, Watkins, Ferguson, Haaland, with a bench of Mitoma, Neto, Colwell, and Turner. 3.7 in the bank. Oh, wow. I'm going to talk through some of the issues with your team. And while I'm doing that, could you just let me know how many transfers you've got? I'm going to assume one transfer for you, Gareth. Areola, Cash, Trippier, Anderson, Udogie, bench of Mitoma. So I think Mitoma's a sell. But to be honest, so is Neto, because we have no return date for Neto, whereas we actually do have one for Mitoma. So it kind of depends on who you want to get hold of. So you don't have Mbermo and you don't have Eze, and actually, yeah, to be fair, getting Neto into either of those two would be tricky. I suppose you could go Neto to Palmer, but I don't think there's as much of an immediate rush for you to get Palmer right now compared to an Eze or an Mbermo. I think Palmer will become a must-buy by game week 16. Anyone who gets on him early, of course, is gonna reap the benefits of that. But it's just about what you've got elsewhere. One transfer. Okay, thanks for clarifying, Gareth. That's useful. So with that one transfer, yeah, I'd probably sell Mitoma, and if you can get to either Eze or Mbeumo, I'm going to guess that actually, hold on, you've got 3.7 in the bank, so you can have either of them. I would do Mitoma to Eze this week, and you could do that no problem with your money, and then I would start Eze over one of either Cash or Udogie, one of those two. I mean, I guess if you're sort of having to sort of play the probabilities here, Udogie's the home team. Villa are not as good away from home as they are at home. Cash has got a flag. So if you had to pick between those two, I'd probably go Udogie, even though I'm going to end up starting Cash. That's more out of kind of obligation versus anything else. And then, so then start Eze over that, and then you'd be playing what I think would be a 3-4-3. Which I think is infinitely better than playing a 4-3-3, especially when you've got all that money in the bank. And then use your other transfer next week, kind of if everything kind of lines up nicely, to do probably, Neto to Mbeumo. And then, you're lined up nicely to have Mbeumo for that Luton game. So hopefully that's helpful for you there, Gareth. As I said, thank you very much for the Super Chat. It's an amazing way to support the channel. If you want a guaranteed answer to your team-specific dilemma, Super Chat is the way to go. Outside of that, I will just do the best I can to get through as many of the comments in the chat and the questions in the time that we have left. We've got 32 minutes until the Game Week 13 deadline, and I am absolutely no closer to working out what on earth I am going to do. What we have finished with the majority of the major team news. If you've got some questions about who we think is going to start games, do get them in the chat, and if I've got time, I'll take you back to the Fantasy Football Scout team news page with the predicted lineups, and we'll talk you through those. So just let us know in the chat if you've got any specific questions about specific players who may or may not play this particular game week. So let's move on to a couple of other things then. We'll have a look at the season ticker, because this is what's going to help me decide what I'm going to do with my team. I've got a couple of options that I need to deal with. Now, the first thing that I want to just point out is that we've got some really great opportunities coming up for some big fixture swings. So if you've not already noticed that we've got a big fixture swing in the favour of Chelsea in Game Week 16, it's worth knowing that. We've got the blank game week coming up for Brentford and Man City, which you'll see in the bottom right-hand corner. So a lot of our plans really do need to start factoring in some of those things as we move forward into the next couple of weeks. In terms of who's got some really nice short-term fixtures, Crystal Palace are looking good with their fixtures. Brentford's fixtures look good from 14 onwards as well, but of course I do have the blank as well. So these are some of the things that I'm looking at for my team. Now, are you guys ready to see my team? Because I think you might need to go and put on some glasses, because the amount of yellow and orange shine coming off this team is just absolutely nuts. I've got so many flags. It's unbelievable. Now, I said at the beginning, tell me how many flags you've got on your team. Get your numbers of your flags in the chat now. Let's see if any of you can beat this. I have got no fewer than 6 flags in my team. They are, listing them from top to bottom, Cash, Cash, Bowen, Haaland, Mitoma, Estupiñán, Van de Ven. 6 in total. What an absolute mess my team is this week. Absolute mess. Now, I do still have my wild card, but I just refuse to use it. I refuse to use it now, because I do think that we have got some great opportunities to use your wild card. If you've still got your wild card, let us know in the chat. Get some W's in the chat. Let's have some W's in the chat if you've still got your wild card. Because, there's some great opportunities to use it. I think either 16 or 19 are good times to use it. And I still think I can get through this game week. I think I can get through this game week, even though I've got all these flags. And we'll talk through how I'm going to do that in a minute. We've already got Anchor Straum in the chat with a W. We've got Brian says he's got 3 flags. Gabriel's got 2 flags. Gerbicide's got 5. Anchor Straum's actually got 4. D Valentino 007's got just the 1 flag. So, it looks like I'm winning, guys. Come on. Somebody see if they can match my 6 flags. And Gabriel also with the W in the chat for his wildcard. So we got 2 guys in the chat who still have the wildcard. Brian is an NW. You don't have to use the clown emoji though, Brian. Like most people have used them already. Mahomie asks if I've got 2 free transfers. I actually don't. I should clarify that I don't have 2 free transfers. And if I'm honest, if it wasn't for the fact that Mitoma is definitely not playing, I was genuinely so close to rolling this team, because I felt like I could have done it because I think there's a chance that if Matoma wasn't flagged, then it would mean that Matoma would come in for Bowen if he didn't play, because I'm actually happy to start Archer this week, which you'll see. We've got a few more wildcarders down here. We've got Paolo Diego Romario, wildcard with 3 flags. Trevor's got 3 flags with a wildcard. Pudge278's got his wildcard still. Sebois still has his wildcard as well. And as Gabriel says, he's looking to use it in Gameweek 19. I think that's the time to do it. I've just noticed, by the way, Austin, you have just submitted a super chat. Thank you so much for that super chat. We appreciate all the support. From what I can see, I can't see a question with it though. So if you've got a question that you want me to answer, just stick it in the chat as a normal chat. And obviously, you've already paid for the super chat, so I will answer that question. If perhaps maybe you just forgot to add the question on, that can sometimes happen. It's your first ever super chat, so we forgive you the accident there. So yeah, just let me know what your question is. Gary has 5 as well. So we got 2 of you guys on 5 flags. Nobody can beat my 6 flags so far. So what am I going to do then? So I think I'm probably going to have to use a transfer as much as I don't really want to. Now, I've talked up Mbermo quite a lot because... Oh, right. Austin says it's empty due to technical reasons, but it's just a greeting because I came in late. Well, that's very kind of you. If you think of a question, Austin, at some point between now and the end of the stream, then do chuck it in the chat. And as I said, as you've already paid for a super chat, we will, of course, answer that for you. And yeah, if I miss it, guys, if I miss Austin's question, please let me know that he's asked his question because he deserves an answer for his incredible support for the channel. But yes, with my team, yeah. It's probably going to have to be Matoma that's going to go, and basically my idea is I'm either going to do Eze in or I'm going to go with Mbermo in. Now, the problem I've got, I showed you those fixtures before, and Mbermo's going to help me out a little bit more longer term and probably also help me with an effective ownership kind of concern, because I think Mbermo's going to be in lots of teams this week because the Bowen injury and the Matoma injury just makes Mbermo a really obvious one. And then, but Eze's fixture this week is much, much better than Mbermo's one. And I'm also, if I'm honest, kind of feeling like I'm a little bit nervous to captain Haaland against Liverpool because it is Liverpool and he has got the flag. And so, I gotta be honest, I don't mind captaining Eze, whereas I wouldn't captain Mbermo. And the thing is, that might make me sound nuts, but before the Bowen injury saga, I was actually going to captain Bowen. That was an easy captain. I do need to have a look at some numbers. In a minute, I'm going to try and have a look at how obliging Luton are when they are the home team, because they have got some good results there. So if I see something that suggests that they're still quite obliging at home, I think I will probably sign Eze and captain him, because why not? Doing crazy different things and getting a little bit jammy this season has pulled me up to 38k. But yeah, a couple of some other good comments in the chat. Thank you guys. Gabrielle says, don't use the wildcard, David, just make a transfer. Yep, that's right, my friend. Stay the course. Stay the course is one of the best advice anyone's ever given me about anything in life. When you've got a plan, whether it's FPL or outside of it, you stick to that plan, you stay the course, and you're always going to do much better than if you start wavering from that as you move along. So don't worry, my friend, the wild card it's not even in my pocket. I've literally just locked it in a box with a padlock in the next room. I'm going nowhere near it until Boxing Day, because that's when Game Week 19 is. Marvin Houston says, 6 flags, you sound like an American theme park. Well, it has been a bit of a roller coaster season, so that is a fantastic comparison. Ben also says, I'm living life on the edge because I need a bench option. Well, yes, I think you're absolutely right. I think that's what's going to push me into actually making this transfer. As I said, if it wasn't for Matoma's injury, I would probably be just rolling the transfer and starting Archer without being too worried. But it's the fact that if Bowen doesn't start, and heaven forfend, Cash and Haaland also don't, then I'm not really going to be able to bring much else in from the bench. So I think I need to have a sub this week. So if I do Matoma to Eze and then bench Archer, then it means Archer would come in if Bowen or Haaland doesn't play. Obviously wouldn't come in if Cash doesn't play. Now, someone asked me if I'm happy playing Shimikas against Man City. I missed who that was. There it is, Mahomey. Am I happy about having to start Shimikas against Man City? No, not at all. I don't want to have to start him. But the place that I'm in with my team, and I'd encourage other people to think about their teams in the same way, is how much can I affect this week with my transfers? Now, I've only got the one. So if I'm going to be transferring out more than one person, it's obviously going to involve a hit. And I've got to be honest, there aren't really that many amazing defenders this week. I'm really not that. A -4 for a new defender is not going to be a sound investment, and it's a waste of a transfer. And so I've had a couple of weeks before where I've ended up having to start a defender I'm not that fussed by. Or one week I even went into a game week and, unbeknownst to me, because things had gone wrong in terms of Flecken at Brentford and then Turner lost his place. I actually had one game where I didn't even have a goalkeeper and had 10 players. And I just muddled through. I just muddled through. And I've had this a number of times this season. This is probably the worst injury crisis I've had. But what I've learned from the 2 previous injury crises I've had, and I managed to keep my wild card intact, is that it's just about trying to make sure you can just about get to 11 players. I don't need to worry too much about my bench. My wild card will solve that. And if some of these flags go away, maybe next week I can deal with some of my bench issues. But I'm not that bothered about not having that many defenders, because right now, I've just got not too many eyes on other defenders. In fact, last week when I didn't have all these flags and I was looking at potential defensive replacements, I was looking at signing Lascelles. He was like my Estupiñán replacement or my Van der Ven replacement, because he was kind of the only one I felt like I had any long-term interest in, because a lot of the easier fixtures this week are in the hands of teams I don't trust, and a lot of the easier defensive fixtures are in the hands of teams I don't trust for the next 2 or 3 game weeks. So I'm not really seeing much in the way of guaranteed, immediate investment returns. And the exception to that is Crystal Palace. If you need a new defender and you don't have Anderson or Gay or Mitchell or something like that, or you need a new goalkeeper and you don't have Johnston, then that is great. That I think is a much better one, to be honest. But I've already got them, so that's the problem. I can't get them. And I'm actually seeing a lot of you in the chat saying maybe I should get Reece James. Now I do have my eye on Reece James. Reece James is, by the sounds of it, going to be doing much. Is actually feeling much better than he ever has before, and he's completely fit. Which is nice. This is nice. I like that. But I just think away at Newcastle is not the week to sign him. It's all about what can I get as an immediate return. And as I said, I just think that my immediate return on my one free transfer it's got to be a midfielder, because I just don't fancy defenders this week. Now, game week 16, maybe that's when I'm going to get Reece James. I'd like to actually see him get some minutes together first, rather than sort of take his word for it, really. So, yeah. That's kind of my thinking there. Now, what I said I was going to do is I said I was going to go to the Fantasy Football Scout members area, and I wanted to see how Luton had got on in the last few weeks. So let's do that now, because as I've mentioned, and you'll see below me as well, if you're only just joining us, we've got a Black Friday deal on Fantasy Football Scout membership right now. If you sign up whilst this deal is active, so it's going to run sometime into next week, and of course we've got Cyber Monday coming up as well, you can get a 7-day free trial, and then also you can get a free £12 gift from Good Team on Paper, who make some amazing prints and posters and all sorts of things like that. That could be perfect for the football fan in your life if you're trying to get their Christmas present. And as I said, it's absolutely free if it's up to the value of £12. And to be honest, with the Scout membership as well, I mean, why not give it a go? If you haven't already got it, then you end up paying absolutely nothing for this for the next 7 days. And if you find that you like it, then head to the website, of course, and sign up for a package that you feel is right for you. But if you kind of like, I don't like this, then you've wasted nothing. You've wasted nothing except your own curiosity, which, let's be honest, spending curiosity points on learning new things is one of the most valuable things any human being can do. So, yeah, do give that a go. So I'm going to show you a bit of the members area now. I'm going to head into it to have a look at what Luton's defence has been up to of late. And if at home specifically, and if I like it, then I think I'm going to sign Eze, and I think I'm going to captain him. So let's head to the members area now. So this is one of my custom tables on the screen, which I have a look at some of my players. And what I'm doing is I'm just going to have a look at the team stats of some defensive players, which is just loading away in the background now. While we're doing that, to show you some of the attacking players, how they're getting on at the moment. Haaland still top of the league for shots in the box. Nunez, Watkins is up there as well. And Burmo, look at those numbers. 10 shots in the box, 4 big chances, 8 shots on target. All of this is in the last 4 matches. So we'll start off with last 4 matches for Luton's defence. And, well, that's good news. In the last 4 matches, they've given up 19 big chances, which is more than any other team in the league. In terms of shots in the box, 56. Also the most of any team in the league. Shots on target, 24. Headers, 20. So I've got Anderson today. Whoa, Looking forward to him playing the Luton defence. So that's good. I like that. That's encouraging because it shows that they are one of the worst defences in the last 4 matches. But let's have a look at how they've got on at home. So let's go all home matches this season because we can change that filter there. And let's find out whether or not this Luton defence is captainable against it. Let's have a look. So all home matches. Now, not everybody has played the same number of games so far. So they've actually only played 5. And a lot of the teams above them have played a lot more. But they've conceded 14 big chances at home, which is actually the worst of any team who's played 5 games. The only teams who are ahead of them for this at home, well, they've all played more matches than Luton at home. So another good way of sort of kind of having a look at that from a sort of per 90 perspective. We'll have a look at the expected data here and go minutes per expected goals conceded in all home matches, because then that's going to remove the fact that they've not played as many games at home from the kind of mitigation of it. Interestingly enough, they're kind of in the middle, actually. This is for all home matches. So they've conceded 4 goals in 5 games at home so far this season, and they're conceding XG at home every 65.1 minutes, which is somewhere in the middle. That's not as much as I was hoping for, if I'm honest. With this one here, you can see Burnley, anyone who's out there with a West Ham player, look, 52.1, every 52.1 minutes, they are conceding a XG at home, Burnley. So they've got a really good shout there. I've just seen in the chat that we've got a few people joining us late on and asking if we've got any Bowen news. So let's just recap on the Bowen news, because obviously I appreciate that is the big story of the day, really heading into this deadline. So the news on Jarrod Bowen, if you haven't already caught it, is that David Moyes hopes he will play, and that is after this injury where he's allegedly got this sort of fluid on the knee. We don't really know how long that's going to keep him out for, because there is a chance he starts today. There is a chance. And just to take people back to the predicted lineups that we have, if you're joining us late, you won't have seen this, of course. Predicted lineups that we have on Fantasy Football Scout. Officially, we are the best at this, according to independent aggregators who compare all the predicted lineups. We are currently leading this season. And as I said, we can say that I have nothing to do with this. That's all Neil, Tom, and Mark. So, I could say what I want about them. They're amazing. They're very humble. They would never say it themselves, so I have to. So this is the predicted lineup for West Ham for today. Areola in goal, Emerson, Aguerd, Zuma, Sofal as the back 4, Edson Alvarez, James Ward-Prowse as the midfield double pivot with Kudus and Paqueta either side of Soucek, and Bowen up front. And one of the reasons why I think we're talking about Bowen as having a chance today is, of course, the fact that Antonio is out, which is also part of the update we got out of David Moyes yesterday. He is sidelined for a couple of weeks. So clearly there is, in terms of a comparison, Bowen's is not as bad as Antonio's is, and without Antonio, they don't really have anyone else to play up front. So they very much need him there, to be honest. Haldir70 is watching us from Australia. How you doing? I always marvel at the time you guys in Australia have to join these streams for the deadline. Let me know what time it is down under, Haldir. And you've also mentioned you're a Hammers fan, just like my dad. I saw someone earlier on in the chat asking me what my dad's transfer is this week. If you want to know why people are asking about my dad, then make sure you watch General's Orders every week. It's usually on a Tuesday evening, sometimes on a Wednesday as well, depending on the schedule, where I talk to one of the best fantasy minds in the world. No, that's not my dad. That is, of course, the General. But we always check in on how my dad's doing, because he is the ultimate casual who doesn't really have any idea what he's doing, admits that himself, really. And I always try and make sure that I don't ask him what his transfer is, so that it takes me by complete surprise whenever I'm preparing for the next episode. So who knows what he'll do? Who knows what he'll do this week? I'm very excited to find out. Pudge278 says, given the Burnley info, would you start Shimikas over Bayer? You know what? I think I probably would. I mean, that's a really tricky one, because Shimikas doesn't have a nice game today at all. But I do kind of feel like Burnley could be in for a bit of a hiding today against West Ham. And I don't really think Bayer offers much outside of that. Whereas if you take Shimikas along, I think Shimikas is going to probably... I mean, honestly, I feel like his ceiling this week is like 4 points. But in a week when we've all got lots of injuries, I'll take that. I'll just take you back to my team so you can see what I mean. When you consider the other things I've got to deal with here, starting Shimikas, I'm just going to have to do it. I think that, Shimikas, in the way that he has played, has the opportunity to maybe get some attacking returns in this one. So I think I'd take him over Bayer. I think that they're probably... I just think Burnley are more likely to concede more goals. Liverpool's defence is getting better. And Bayer doesn't really offer much else outside of that. So, yeah, it's a tricky one. This is one of these game weeks where I think it's a take-your-medicine kind of game week. I'm anticipating just muddling through. If I can just get to 50 points, I'll take it, and we just move on to the next one. And, yeah, sometimes, you're going to have to start some players for some tricky fixtures. FBL Aussie Mike says the cutoff for him actually is 9 p.m. here on the Gold Coast, Australia this week. That's actually not too bad. That's not too bad, unless it's entirely... I mean, I don't know what the time zones are like in Australia, so let me know. If there's people in your country who have to stay up even later because of that. Giordano actually asks if Shimikas is going to play, so as promised, I do like to take people to our predicted team news. I've not seen anything from the Etihad Stadium yet. If you do see anything, anyone getting off buses, that's what we want to hear from. If you can see some journalists at the game who've spotted someone getting off a bus, we want to see that kind of thing. But in terms of whether or not he's going to play, well, I think I'm fairly confident, but I've not seen the predicted lineup for Liverpool. But I think with the way things are at Liverpool right now, I think that Shimikas would be a natural inclusion on the left-hand side. So let's double-check it. Yeah, so the predicted lineup, we do have Shimikas to start. There has been a little bit of concern about his place in the side because he did miss that game recently. It was quite a favourable one as well. But we kind of suspect that Gomez played in that game to add a little bit more defensive, towering qualities to the defence over Shimikas. Shimikas is more your natural modern-day fullback, whereas Gomez, of course, is more of a centre-back. And I think it was the first time Gomez had played left-back in something like 8 years or something nuts. I do think that for this game, mitigating against set play threats and kind of people who are good in the air, less important for Liverpool to have to do for this one. I think this game is going to be all won and lost around possession, where that possession is going to be, how quickly teams can hit each other on a counter-attack. And Shimikas obviously is a lot more suited to that style of play than Gomez is. So to answer your question... Giordano, I haven't seen anything this morning that indicates whether or not Shimikas is or isn't starting, but what we can bring you, of course, is the predicted lineup that would suggest that based on recent events, we would expect him to start Shimikas as well. It's Dalma says, is Wood a good captain for this week? Well, this is definitely a game week for a differential captain, that's for sure. Let's take you back to the season ticker to walk you through that. Because, we got Man City playing Liverpool. Both of those two teams very, very good. And, of course, Haaland's got that flag on him as well. We've got two of the worst defences in the league in Bournemouth and Sheffield United annoyingly playing each other. Nottingham Forest are playing Brighton. So, Brighton don't really keep many clean sheets. He is out for a long time, so Wood is back in the team. He obviously got a big haul a couple of weeks ago. I think that Wood is a good shout to own this week, because it's not a bad fixture. But would I captain him? Not really. Now, it would probably depend who else you've got on your team, but if I had Eze or if I had a West Ham midfielder like a Ward-Prowse or a Kudus, I would sooner captain them because I think their fixture is better. Outside of that, I mean, I still don't think Haaland is a bad shout for the captaincy. A lot of people are going to go for him this week now that a lot of their other captaincy options have picked up injuries. So, yeah, that's probably what I would do there if I was you. If you had Wood, I probably wouldn't captain him. So Desmond says it's a midnight cut-off in New Zealand. So, I did think that someone around that part of the world. So, would have a particularly tricky deadline. So, I do apologise. Aldi says he's in Adelaide, which is about 10 years behind the Gold Coast. I don't really know much about Australia, so if it's entirely possible that I've just joined in some kind of in-joke that I don't understand, then and have accidentally offended someone in mentioning that, I do apologise. But I'm just going to take your word for it that means something to you Australians out there. We've got now 10 minutes until the deadline passes. So before we get to that point, just another quick reminder. If you guys haven't already liked the stream and you're watching on YouTube, please hit that like button. It's a massive, incredible way to help support the channel. And if you haven't already subscribed as well, we're obviously working really, really hard to make sure that you guys stick around and so you can watch us every week and you always get notifications of when we are live and we have new videos. We want you to be able to be as connected as possible to our content. So if you haven't already hit that subscribe button, it will be super useful as you head into the upcoming game weeks as well. So like button, subscribe button, bell notification, hit all three, and then you're sorted for Game Week 13. But the question is, am I sorted for the Game Week 13 deadline? No, I'm not. My team is still a complete mess, so I need to really sort this now. So I am going to, as ever, put up a quick poll on what I should do. I think I know what I'm going to do. I am going to probably sell Matoma to get Eze, and then I'm probably going to captain Eze because why not? It's a Saturday morning and I'm feeling in an exciting mood. So this is going to be a yes or no. This is going to be a simple yes or no because we've only got 9 minutes left. So Matoma to Eze and captain Eze. Question. Let's stick that into the chat for you guys to tell me if you think that's a good idea or not. Because you guys have been really helpful this year. There's been a couple of weeks where I ended up rolling my transfer because you guys thought it was a good idea, and that ended up working wonders because I got Anderson off the bench with a big haul. So let me know, Matoma to Eze, and then captain Eze, what do you think I should do? If you think I shouldn't do that, let me know. And also, actually, someone's just mentioning about site crashes, so let's double check that the website hasn't crashed. So while you guys are quickly voting away, I'm just going to double check that. So apologies if I go quiet, because the last thing I want is for my team to end up going in without having made my transfers. Well, I'm not enjoying how that's looking. Oh, there we go. Oh, thank goodness. It just loaded. Phew, that would have been bad. We've got captain no, transfer yes. Okay, tell you what, if you think I should bring him in, yes. Okay, there seems to be a lot of support for the idea that maybe I just transfer him in and not captain him. Some people suggest I should get Palmer. Well, I like Palmer, but his fixtures just aren't good enough yet. If Eze didn't have the really nice fixtures, I'd probably go Palmer. But I think I just need to wait for his fixtures to get good enough to justify it. David Hewitt says Kudus is differential. I really like Kudus this week. If I just had sort of absolutely no other concerns, and I didn't already have Bowen, I would be looking at Kudus or Ward-Prowse. As I've already mentioned, go back about 10 minutes to have a look at. We were having a look at the Burnley defence. It's really bad. It's also really bad at home. So, yeah, I think Kudus is going to do well this week. Josh says I should roll the transfer. Well, that would be very me of me. But I do think that if I go in with having rolled the transfer with this setup, I think I'm going to be in trouble because I kind of feel like if I go in with 3 flags, surely, what's going to happen is one of them's not going to start and then I've got no one coming in. So I do think that having Archer as my first sub, having made a transfer, is probably worth doing. Paulo Diego says Soucek as a cheeky punt. I mean, maybe it depends on what you can afford, if I'm honest. I do think Kudus or Ward-Prowse is a better option if you can reach them. Faiz Ahmed says, Bowen to which 8 million midfielder? I already have Kudus. Well, to be honest, I'd probably just leave Bowen. As I've mentioned earlier, I do think Bowen this week is a hold, but not a buy. So if you don't own Bowen, I wouldn't buy him. But if you hold Bowen, I think you give him the chance to play this because there is a chance that he could play. And if you've got Kudus, then it also means... if you've got Kudus, then it means at the very least you've definitely got at least one starter in that Burnley game. You might end up with 2. And I do think that's going to be where we see the most goals this week. Adam Holmes says, rolling would be insane with that bench. I think I agree with you. FBL Aussie Mike says, Captain Eze, I thought you were conservative. Excuse me, did you just assume my political alignment? No, I know what you're trying to say. FPL Aussie Mike. I actually used to be a very conservative manager, but last season I went very, very aggressive with my transfers around January, and I went from having my worst ever season to having my best ever season. And I'm having a lot of fun playing kind of off the chain, if I'm honest. I think I'm slowly becoming a little bit more unchained, which probably doesn't sound particularly positive about my state of mind right now. But yeah, I mean, I'm just looking at my rank, and some of the things I've done this season have worked really well, and bearing in mind that I am where I am, it allows me to take some risks because in theory the points are kind of already in the bank. Homie says, sorry David if I missed, who is your dad bringing in this week? As I mentioned earlier, I don't know. I always make sure not to ask my dad before an episode of General's Orders. I like to find out after everything's happened, so me and the General can kind of react live on the video rather than find out what he's doing. And the other thing is, usually if he tells me what he's doing, his idea is usually such a harebrained scheme that I would, like, in years gone by, I'm like, don't do that, that's so silly, do this instead. And so if I spoke to him, then what would happen is that I would end up probably stopping his creative genius from flowing. So I tend to usually just to hold off, find out what he's doing later. Right, guys, we've got 4 minutes to go, so it's about time I did my transfer. It's going to be Eze in. I'm going to make it now, and then that gives me a couple of extra minutes to decide whether or not I'm going to captain him for this game. So it is, do you know what I need to do? I need to switch this so you guys can see me doing this live, because I know you like this. You like watching someone do their transfers live. So let's head back to, here we go. This is the FPL site. So there he is, Matoma. He's out. Eze in. And for anyone who's seen me talk up in Burma this week and gone, why aren't you signing him? I'll get him next week. Because I do think that selling Bowen next week is going to be worth doing it because of the fixtures. So, Matoma out, Eze in, confirmed transfers. Right, there we go. That's sorted. So, now let's get this team lined up nicely. So, Eze in to start. Archer is the first sub. Saved. There we go. So, currently got Haaland as the captain. I just don't know how much I like this game. I can't see Haaland going nuts for this one. I could see, Eze go nuts at Luton. Oh, I really want to do it, guys. You guys are telling me not to do it, and I really want to. So that's that's the dilemma I find myself in, is that everybody thinks I'm crazy. It's just how quickly can I hold off the resistance to me doing it. Ignatius says, signed, sealed, delivered. That's right, he's in. Also, hearing that people have spotted Haaland involved in the starting lineup today. Apparently there's been some discussion on the Fantasy Football site itself. I don't know where that's unconfirmed. I can't confirm that. But yeah, that's just what I'm hearing. And I think, but to be honest, that's no surprise. That's absolutely no surprise to me at all. I do think he was always going to start this one. I guess it's just now I've got 2 minutes to decide if I captain him. And thank you very much, Epi Aussie Mike, who says General's Orders is the best show of the week. Really appreciate that. It's a brand new show for this season. So me and Mark have had some really cool. Just great times just doing a new show, but it's always, of course, a little bit nerve-wracking whenever you do a new show, especially with some heavy hitters like Burning Questions and Scoutcast. So support we get for General's Orders, we super appreciate it, and we love it. Now, if there's anyone else out there who hasn't already subscribed to the channel, or hasn't liked the video, then do that probably in the next 5 minutes rather than right now, because you're probably trying to sort out what you're doing with your team. To be honest. But yeah, there's just so much great content out there, and we want to make sure it's in front of as many people as possible. You know what, guys? Live a little. Captain Eze, let's go. Right, Captain Eze, Vice Captain Haaland, let's do it. Save your team. Yeah, Adam says do it, and you'll probably get jammy again. Yeah, absolutely. I've been drinking jam on toast tea this season, and it's been working. So there we go. As someone says, and like I've been thinking all week, I'm 38k, right? So if this goes wrong, it's not the end of the world. I'm probably going to drop to a rank that I'm not unhappy with. And if it goes well, then I could be having the game week of my life. When you've got the point, I always think if you're having a good season and you've made some decisions that are a little bit counter-cultural, counter the crowd, just keep it up. Just keep going. And just keep on doubling down. So, yeah, there we are. Eze captain is locked in, I think. I'll just double check that I actually hit save on the team. Your team has been saved. All right, cool. So let's just refresh the page. Let's just refresh the page, because the worst thing will be if I try and captain him and then it crashes and it's not saved. I'm checking on the app as well. Right, Eze's still the captain on the website. Is he the captain on my app? Let's have a look. Pick team. We've got less than a minute to go. I hope you guys are all locked into your teams. Come on, app, load. I don't want this to go wrong. There we go. Right, Eze captain. There we go. Oh, right, here we go. And there it is. Just in time. There the deadline goes. It has officially passed, and you guys have watched a man officially descend into total insanity by bringing in a Crystal Palace midfielder and captaining him for Game Week 13. I've got to be honest, I'm so excited now. I wasn't that bothered about this game week. I was kind of a little bit nervous, but hey, you know what? I'm thinking about reasons why that was a good idea more and more as this time goes on. If my team's in such a mess, why not go for someone different? You know, if I'm going to end up with 10 players involved, why not have 2 Eze's, eh? So I'm sure that I'm going to be ruining my words when we get to half-time in the Man City game and Haaland scored a hat-trick. But hey, live a little, you know. So there we are. Oh wow, Andy has also done exactly the same thing. I hope that wasn't because of me. I hope that I hope that I haven't inspired insanity in absolutely everybody else. Well, Andy, I hope that your captaincy comes off as well, because it's the same one as me. Some really nice comments in there as well from Halder and Adam. Really appreciate that. Halder says your content is some of the best. That's very sweet of you. Adam says best show of the week. Well, that's very kind of you. I appreciate that quite a lot. As I said, the deadline has now passed, right? So now that you've got your team in, and that's all sorted, we've got some housekeeping for you guys to finish off with. A couple of bits and bobs. First things first, if you've not liked the stream, why not? Hey, you just watched a guy sign Eze and captain him like a total crazy guy, right? Go like the stream. I think that behaviour deserves a like. I promise I'm not doing it for the likes, but it would be useful if we had some. And we obviously really trying to get as many people as possible subscribing to the channel as well, because then that means you're always going to be the first people to catch the new content. We've got loads and loads of great shows, and I can say that because I'm not on a lot of them, so I can talk them up, as I say, with impunity. So on Monday, we got Burning Questions with FBL Harry, who's got an incredible record in the last couple of years. We've got an FPL Sonaldo on there as well. We've got Scoutcast Monday night. On Tuesday, we'll have Goals Imminent with Joe and Tom. And then in the evening, we'll have General's Orders as well. We'll have some team reveals from Joe and Tom. That between them, I think they have 16 top 10k finishes, which is just crazy. So always worth checking out them. So subscribe to the channel if you want team reveals from them. You get team reveals from me as well. My record's not as good as theirs. I finished in the top 20k twice in the last 4 years. I'll take that. And I'm having a good season. So, it's always worth knowing what I'm doing this week, because it's probably going to end up with some absolute jam. And then we'll have Deadline Dilemmas on Thursday, and on Friday we'll have the team news. This week it was super important. It might be useful next week as well. So some incredible shows out there for you guys to check out. We've also got a couple of deals on as well, so I'm just going to take you through those as everybody sort of settles in, ready for today's games. We have got a awesome Black Friday deal for you guys to check out. So this one is a kind of like, why not do it, right? It's just completely free. If you sign up as a member, if you've not already signed up as a member, sign up as a member today, or at some point, basically sign up today. The offer runs sometime into next week, but do it today in that little gap between the deadline and the team news coming out, because that'll be in about 27 minutes. Do that today, and you will get a 7-day free trial of the Fantasy Football Scout members area. I've shown you a few bits and bobs from it this morning, and hopefully you found that useful. You also will get a free gift worth £12 from Good Team on Paper. They make really cool prints and posters and all sorts of cool things like that. If you've got a football fan in your life, you're heading into Christmas and you haven't sorted out, your dad's present. My dad doesn't watch any of this content, so I think I can basically say that I probably will end up getting him something from these guys because they're super cool. He's a big West Ham fan, is my dad. Then you get that free gift and you get the free trial. Check it out for a few days, see if you like it or not. And if you don't like it, then great, you've spent no money and all you've done is waste your precious time. But I've got to be honest, I'm pretty confident that if you try that free trial, you're going to really enjoy what you find there because it's super, super useful. We also have some exciting news in relation to merch as well. Got a brand new Scout website, Fantasy Football merch, which can help you guys out for all of your fantasy football merchandising needs. Again, you've got that football fan in your life you've not sorted out a present for and they're really into their fantasy, then head to fantasyfootballmerch.co.uk. We've got some great t-shirts, jumpers, beanies, caps, mugs, the whole lot with some really cool designs. Again, I had nothing to do with them, so I can say that they're cool without being vain and talking up my own work. And we've also got a deal here as well. If you use the code BLACKFRIDAY25, you can get 25% off. And of course, there's free shipping as well, depending on your location. So do check out as well. Andy, lovely comment from yourself. To have order, one needs chaos. Hence the SA transfer in and captain. Yep, completely agree. Sound a little bit like Thanos, but, hey, some people thought he was right. And Andy says he's a first-time viewer. Subscribe now and press the like button. After I loaded the dishwasher, I'm going to lay down in a darkened room. I'll tell you what, I feel you today. If my dishwasher was plumbed in, I would. At the moment, it's not, so I'm just going to have to just wash the dishes by hand. But certainly, I may have to do a little bit of, housekeeping of my own, just to sort of come down from that. We also have a message from our sponsor as well. This video today sponsored by Betway. They are the principal betting partners of West Ham and Brighton. On Friday, they announced the heroes of the weekend. Bet £10 on player markets, top scorer of the heroes, and they will credit a £1 free bet for every point up to £20. Betway also run giveaways, including shirts and tickets for West Ham and Brighton. We know not everyone gambles, and that's why we take it very seriously. And on our website, we have a filter where you can turn off gambling ads. For those who do enjoy so responsibly, there's more info about Betway in the description. You have to be 18 or over, and we encourage everyone to gamble responsibly. BeGambleAware.org. When the fun stops, stop, which is very important to remember. But there we are. That is all of the housekeeping that I need to hit you guys with today. Appreciate it. It's been a busy one. It's been a chaotic one. It's been a fun one. You guys have been fantastic as ever. It's always great to spend this time going across the deadline with you guys. You're all absolutely brilliant. Thank you so much for your questions. Thank you for your support as well. Matthew Perry says the button's been pressed. Great show. Thank you very much for your support. Really super, super appreciate it. We have got all sorts of content coming up, even just this weekend as well. So the Fantasy Football Scout journey is not over for the weekend yet. On Saturdays and Sundays, sometimes it's Saturday evening, sometimes on Sunday morning, we'll have the Stats of the Day podcast. So if you haven't already subscribed to our podcast platform, head to Spotify, Apple, wherever it is you get your podcast from, and look out for that. And we will also have the reigning FPL champion himself in Ali Hangarov. He has his usual Sunday evening show, 6:30 with Gianni at the full times of the Sunday games, having a look at his bus team for next week as well. FPL Aussie Mike, I would get merch. I need General's Orders merch. I will pass that on. If you've got ideas for merch you would like to see, because obviously it's a brand new enterprise, so we're sort of very much kind of edging into the market rather than doing everything we want to do straight away. We'd love to hear from you guys what kind of merch you'd like. So yeah, definitely pass that on. And yeah, let's get enough of you guys speaking to the people in the top brass at Fantasy Football Scout saying we want General's Orders merch, because I'm obviously completely biased. And if we can let's get some merch about my dad. Yeah? Haldir70, you're a West Ham fan. Let's get the train going on that one. Let's get some David's dad merch. I want to see you guys wear some shirts for him. So there we go. But with that, I'll leave you guys to the rest of your day. Obviously, we're going to have our team news for the 11:30 game. It's going to be coming up at 11:30. So head to Fantasy Football Scout on X or whichever social media channel you follow us on to get the team news there. And stick with us for the rest of the day. We'll have coverage of all of the matches with some analysis of today's games later on. So yeah, as I said, the Fantasy Football Scout journey never ends. Keep it going throughout the whole weekend and stay tuned. But with that, I shall leave you fine folks to enjoy the rest of your weekend. Hopefully you will get green arrows, and we will see you next time. Goodbye.